When you think about this particular position in leading NMS and compare it to things you've done in the past, is there something that has happened for you over the years that has allowed each entrepreneurial experience to be a little bit easier for you, or is it something that is very different depending on the company and the product line?
It's actually a continuum. I don't think it's necessarily easier. I think it's getting more complex. In particular, I think that the new tests have a much more direct influence on treatment decisions. Call it precision medicine, personalized medicine, all these things really lead to a very direct link between a very specific test and the decision, the clinical decision for treatment. Which means that the players in the field, for instance, the payers, demand more and more sophisticated data that link and prove the effectiveness of that particular test to the treatment decisions, and really now are actually asking for outcomes. That means you go from simply developing a test 20 years ago to now developing the test, validating it, demonstrating the clinical utility, and then now even demonstrating the outcomes, showing that with this test you will have actually better survival rates, you will have better quality of life. You have a number of things that you need to do. So the one thing that I can say is that it's getting clearer of what you need to do, but it's not getting easier.
Sure. So on that note then, I mean, we certainly hear a lot about the whole issue of reimbursement and what the demands are from the payer community in order to gain reimbursement status within those specific payers. Is this something that is an area of focus for your organization today?
Not as much at NMS because we're a labs lab.
Right.
Actually, our customers are laboratories, so we do not deal directly with the payers, but it is something you have to consider. You can't ignore. That is actually so central now into the diagnostic world that you have to, as you develop tests, you have to think through what will be ultimately the outcome and how you can demonstrate that so that the payers will actually look at that and take a very different approach than what they've done in the past. In the past, they would look at tests and say how much it cost, and they will give you a set margin and say that's the reimbursement, it's cost plus. Nowadays, if you really want to have, and that means that you have very limited financial possibilities. If you really want to have a nice return on your investment, because the studies to develop the test have become longer and more complicated and more sophisticated, you need to be able to go to a higher reimbursement. You can only achieve that if you can demonstrate outcomes. So that actually is something you cannot ignore. You have to think about it, not when you launch the product, you have to think about it at the very early onset when you start developing those tests. And it's actually really central now to the work that we do.